Good evening, everyone. My name is Darshan Doshi. I'm the founding director for the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Flame University. Thanks a lot for joining us on a Saturday evening. I hope the next 1 hour is useful for you as you try to, be a part of this session. And we have a fantastic speaker, Professor Bharat Damani, who I'm very proud to call as a colleague. So very quickly, we started Founders Talk webinar series this Wednesday. It happens every Wednesday and Saturday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And we've got a great lineup of speakers all the way up to September. We've got educators such as Dr. Bharat. We've got investors such as Sanjay Mehta. We've got social entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs such as Ganesh Natarajan. We've got business leaders. We have got entrepreneurs who've built and successfully exited their businesses like Sagar Apte and Lokesh Gupta. So we've got a great bunch of speakers from whom, we all could learn from, right? And why is this learning important? COVID-19 is an unprecedented crisis. Something like this happened over a century ago. And so what we are experiencing is probably not been experienced by any generation which is alive. Business is adversely impacted. Society is impacted at large. Pune is expecting another extreme lockdown beginning of Monday. So all in all, I think it's a lot of uncertainty. And so during this time of uncertainty, life should also go on. Business and entrepreneurs and creators need to push forward, right? So what do? You need the help of decision-making frameworks. And today, Dr. Bharat is going to talk about, how do you go about launching your startup, and why is launching a startup, why many companies such as Disney, IBM, Walmart, Flipkart were some of the big, large companies today, which were started during a crisis, right? So I'm really looking forward and excited about this today's session and to hear from Bharat. A quick announcement before we get started and I hand over to Bharat is we've launched a 1-year postgraduate program in entrepreneurship and innovation. It's a certificate program where people who are looking to launch their own ventures or diversify their family businesses, we've put together a program which would help you achieve that. So it focuses on entrepreneurial mindset and skill set. If you take a look at the chat button, you'll see some more details about it. But we've got a great bunch of advisors, mentors, visiting faculty members, such as Dr. Bharat, who are going to be working with you. It's a hands-on program. We've got great partners like Babson Collaborative from USA, Wadhwani Foundation, Campus Fund, Your Story, Ideas to Impact, and Thai Pune, right? So we've got a great bunch of partners for it. You'll see a Q&A button at the bottom. We want to make this as interactive as possible. However, the way this session is designed is Bharat would cover the topic and then we would get into the last 15-20 minutes for Q&A. If there are any questions which are unanswered, I will request Bharat to answer them and then share along with the recording, the answers to those questions. So you will receive this presentation and the recording of this video if you've registered for this session and attended this session. Now, let me make a quick introduction of Dr. Bharat. Dr. Bharat is the chair for entrepreneurship at Flame University. He is a product of IIT Kanpur and IIT Bombay. He has worked with various manufacturing startups, traditional startups, and helped them scale for funded and non-funded and strategic needs for over 20 years. He has consulted various Japanese companies such as DIC Corporation, Nippon Kodo, NTT Data, Toyota, amongst many others. He's also worked with a lot of companies such as Tata Chemicals, Aquafarm, ATE, Eco Access Systems, Pune Carbide, Tata Capital, Union Batteries, and various financial management requirements for them. One of his favorite focuses and passions is around finance for entrepreneurs. And I don't know anyone who does it better than he does. He's been a faculty in finance and entrepreneurship at institutions such as Sydenham Institute of Management, Symbiosis, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, IIT Bombay, and of course, Flame University. I welcome and thank Bharat to join us for this session, and request you to take over.
Thank you, Darshan. Your introduction has really set the standards high, and I really have to live up to your statements. So the time is short because when you talk about entrepreneurship, you can just keep going on and on and on. So let's move straight into the topic. Most of the questions I will try to answer during the talk itself. So please hold on to your questions till the end. If they are not answered, like Darshan said, we have a Q&A session. And even after that, I can answer them by email or some other method. So what am I going to cover? So this is a broad overview of my talk with you today. Why a mindset is important. What is the broad process of entrepreneurship? Ideation, which is the most important part of entrepreneurship. What do you do about it? How do you go about it? And then how to convert your ideas to action, because just having an idea is not enough. Coming out with an innovation is fine, but how do you convert that innovation into a commercial product? And the last part is going to be you as an individual, you as an entrepreneur. How do you be prepared for your journey? So this is what I have in mind to cover today. And before we start off, let's have a quick poll for me to just understand as to what is the profile of the participants here today. Okay, so the poll is in front of you. If you can just answer them. Okay, so the results show that almost half, 48% are students. Another 30% are potential entrepreneurs. And then we have a distribution amongst entrepreneurs, already entrepreneurs, self-employed and academicians. So it's a wonderful mix. And that really tells me that I've designed my talk for the right audience. It's actually designed for students and potential entrepreneurs with inputs even for entrepreneurs who have already started. Great. So let's move ahead. Okay. So when we talk about doing something of your own, the first thought that comes to mind is starting a business. Now, business, the minute you talk to people about a business, there's so many doubts and questions that come to people's minds. Which business should I start? Investment, competition, risk, how do you manage it, marketing, finance, and funding. So actually the real question is not the kind of business, the real question is, can I do it? And if you really look at all these questions in totality, what we are thinking about is a kind of inward looking question, which puts a question mark on my ability and my willingness to start a business. Because I've seen businesses in different forms. The conventional businesses are all investment heavy or competition heavy or marketing heavy. And therefore the doubt is always there, can I do it? Fortunately, we have what is known as entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship and business, according to me, are quite different. So let's first understand what is entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is searching for change, responding to it, and exploiting it as an opportunity. What does it actually mean? It means that whatever is existing currently is not enough. You want to do something different. You want to do something creative, something innovative, something which is not there in the current scenario, something which is required to overcome a problem. So when you say it's an opportunity, any distress, any pandemic, any crisis, any chaos for an entrepreneur is actually an opportunity. But the same situation for a business owner becomes a huge risk. So a lot of people in the current pandemic, they are saying that, oh, what will I do? My business, I cannot open my shop. I cannot get to my customers. There are so many limitations in my operations. I'm going to incur a lot of losses. How do I just survive? So that is a business mindset. On the other hand, what does the entrepreneur do? Entrepreneur says, fine, this is a situation which we are facing. Um, there are a lot of people facing a lot of problems. What can I do to solve those problems? And in the process, it creates a win-win situation for the people who become customers, and for the entrepreneur, it becomes an opportunity to convert the efforts into revenue and, of course, to profits. So entrepreneurs have a mindset which sees possibilities rather than problems created by the situation. And more importantly, entrepreneurs don't limit themselves by their resources or their endowments. They are always solution seeking. So if they don't have resources, it's fine. To begin with, you start with whatever you have, and as you go along, resources can be created. So let's be very clear that what I'm going to talk about is more focused on becoming an entrepreneur and not a business owner. Although some of the principles that I'm going to share are extremely relevant even for a business owner. So to become an entrepreneur, the broad process is that you get an idea, you do some problem analysis, you diagnose it, you do a root cause analysis, you come out with a solution, maybe you generate a few solutions, and then with a little bit of brainstorming, you try it out, do a pilot, and then start implementing it. Now, for doing all this, you are essentially focusing on what we call as your domain skills. Now, domain skills a lot of people would have, especially people who are trained to come out with solutions or to convert solutions into products or pilots. They will be very comfortable in creating this kind of a opportunity or a solution. So, domain skills will help you reach till the point when you are just entering the market. The beauty is that entrepreneurship starts right from day one, but goes all the way to scaling up your operations. So after the initial implementation stage, the bigger question is how do you continue further, get your customers, increase your base, set up your capacities, expand, grow, and face competition, differentiate, invest in technology, and so on and so forth. So all that requires entrepreneurial skills. So if you don't have entrepreneurial skills, and if you feel that I don't need to understand how to become an entrepreneur, I know there are so many people who have done business before me, so I will also do it. Wish you all the best. I'm not saying you will not succeed, but I will say wish you all the best with your domain skills, with your personal skills. Definitely, you'll be able to make a fantastic progress till stage 4. Beyond stage 4, I don't know. So if you want to survive and grow beyond stage 4, entrepreneurial skills comes very, very handy. So what is entrepreneurship management all about? So first of all, it starts with your attitude, your mindset. Are you inward looking or are you outward looking? When I say inward and outward, it means are you looking only at yourself and the benefits that you get by doing whatever you intend to do? Or are you thinking of solving people's problems? The minute you start thinking of your customer, of your beneficiary, of your user as the central focus, a lot of things will change in your venture. So your attitude has to be very fine-tuned towards creating benefit for the entrepreneur. Oh, sorry, for the customer. So if you're focused on solving a problem, welcome to entrepreneurship. So your attitude development is a very, very important part, and that when you convert it or go to the next stage into identifying ideas and converting ideas into opportunities, how do you look at ideas and how do you convert them into opportunities is what is important from a problem solving situation scenario. So for example, you take an innovator. An innovator typically creates a solution or a pilot and says, I've come out with a very fantastic product or a solution, and this is what I'm going to give to the customers and to the industry. And what happens is they launch it in the market, and the customer is just not there. Customer says, why should I buy your product? Why should I pay you for it? So even before you hit the your initial traction, you face a lot of resistance. So it makes a lot of sense to understand how entrepreneurship works. How do you convert your thought process into an idea? How do you refine that idea, convert it or test it, whether it is just an idea or whether that idea is has the potential to be converted into an opportunity. Once this homework is done, then we go into the detailing of planning the venture and planning your startup. Now, planning the venture and planning the startup, what's the difference? The difference is when you say plan your venture, it means you're planning it at least for a 3 to 5 year horizon. And then you plan your startup, which means you plan it for the next 6 to 12 months. And then you go into the execution phase and start reaching out to the customer. And that's where your market acceptance happens. And initially you may and definitely you will face a lot of surprises when you reach out to the customer. How do you react to those surprises? Do you look at those surprises as an opportunity to improvise and customize, or do you look at those surprises as something that no, these customers don't know what they are doing, let me spend more on marketing, let me spend more on brand building, let me spend more on promotions, and I will have to convince the customer to buy more. So we'll discuss about that a little later as well. So market acceptance again is a very important part, where are you thinking like a business owner or are you thinking like an entrepreneur will decide on your further ability to align and survive in a competitive market. After you've aligned and survived and stabilized, it's only then that you can grow including scaling up. So when we say grow internally from lower capacity utilization to higher capacity utilization, at the same time growing from a local area to a regional area to a national area or even to an international area. Now all this you can do or you can learn by just going ahead and doing your own venture. A lot of people do that, and for that I say that your first 5 ventures, if you're taking this approach, then I would say that your first 5 ventures are virtually in the nature of a net practice. So go ahead and do it if you want, and that will be your real net practice where you learn a lot, and you will also spend a lot of time, energy, money, and resources to gain that experience. So what is the alternate to that? The alternate to that, of course, is to take formal program in entrepreneurship. Now, you can take up formal programs in entrepreneurship. The good ones are available, let's say, in places like Harvard, Stanford, Babson College, of course, is #1 in entrepreneurship. Now, they offer more than 40 to 50 courses in entrepreneurship, whereas most universities in India offer just one course in entrepreneurship, and that too, which is quite theoretical and introductory. They often call it as Entrepreneurship 101 or Introduction to Entrepreneurship. Well, that's not enough. So, on the one hand, we have universities in USA, for example, which offer more than 40 courses in entrepreneurship, whereas in India, we have most universities offering just one course. Now, fortunately, at Flame University, we are offering more than 20 courses in entrepreneurship. So that's the beauty of Flame University. We have taken entrepreneurship very seriously. Starting from September this year, more than 20 courses are being offered in entrepreneurship. So if you really want to look at entrepreneurship, maybe you can explore your options. Okay, so how do people generally generate ideas to get up and start their own venture? So most people, they start with their own passion, their inspiration, their experience, or maybe it's an hobby. So if you look at these four together are what we call as your internal personal choices. So these are something that come to you naturally. These are something that come to you because of who you are and because of your background, because of what you've done. So this is a good source of ideas. The next level of ideas is where you interact with the outside world And this is an opportunity, or this is a method by which you can identify or you can get ideas by a blend of what you have gone through and what your immediate circle interacts and shares with you. But the bigger basket of ideas comes really from the external part, where you may or may not be really connected or interacted, or you may not even have enough network in that sense to begin with. So on the smaller circle is your complete internal personal self. On the larger circle is the external world, and the circle in between, or the oval in between, is a hybrid of the two. So this is broadly how people generate ideas. Now the question is, getting an idea is fine. A lot of people do come up with fantastic ideas. Like for example, right now in COVID times, a lot of people have started manufacturing sanitizers or even masks for that matter. The question is, after you get the idea, what do you do? So let's have a quick poll for me to understand what is your thought process, that if you get an idea, what will you do next? So can we have the poll, please? Yeah. 5 options you can choose. Okay, let's see what the answers are. Wow, a lot of people, 65%, would start the venture after a detailed analysis, and 31% would patiently wait after tracking other similar ventures. Fantastic. 24% will start quickly with a structured approach, and 15 and 11% will start immediately. So if you look at it on the whole, yes, you connect it with the participant background, students and potential entrepreneurs. So getting this kind of a response is very, very heartening. Let's move ahead and see what to do. So when you have an idea, there are techniques which are available and can be taught, which can be learned, which can be applied. And these are very simple techniques of filtering your idea or improvising your idea or customizing your idea to your potential market and also to what you can do. So I'm not going to describe all the ideas in detail because we have very limited time and that's not the purpose of this session. But I'm just introducing you that the common idea, the common methods that are used. One is the scamper technique. Scamper is an acronym. Ideate method is also there. Ideate is also an acronym. And the more popular one that all of you are aware of is called design thinking. So design thinking also, a lot of you may have learned about it, or maybe some of you have even tried it out and practiced it. And wherever I have interacted with entrepreneurs, we have invariably found that the initial idea always gets modified significantly even before you decide to go ahead with your prototype, with building of your prototype. I'm not saying testing the prototype. Even before you build your prototype, if you do this exercise, the initial idea that you have and the idea that finally gets refined is quite different if you adopt these 3 techniques that we have just shared on screen. So in short, what do we do in these ideas? The most important is to understand who is your target customer. Now, if you don't know your target customer, then what are we actually going to create? We may intend to create something for a particular segment of people. We end up creating something, and when we launch it in the market, we suddenly realize that somebody else likes that product. So I'll give you an example. We were working with a solar company, And that solar company, they decided to come out with a dish to generate steam for industrial use. Now, this steam was targeted to those manufacturing companies where the cost or the expense that they incurred on generating steam through a boiler was very high. And these generally being continuous process industries or manufacturing industries, the production cost is always under pressure. So the thought behind the entrepreneur was that these would be the target customer who would be interested for this product. So they went ahead and designed this solar system. And when they launched it in the market, the surprising part was that these customers asked them a very simple question. What makes you think we want to save cost on steam generation? Now, this hit them really hard because the entire premise of the innovation was that the cost of steam generation is high, and that is where the user or the industry would like to save on. So when they got this answer or this feedback from the potential industrial customers, they really had to go back to the drawing board and wonder who could be the customer. And the surprising part, you won't believe it, but the people who showed interest were laundry operators, large industrial laundry operators. So many people looked at this solution and they said, yes, I need the heat, I need the steam, but the current operating cost or the cost of the purchase cost of that steam is very high for me. I don't have an alternate source. I don't have the ability to invest in that. So this solution helps me a lot. So if you don't know your target customer, you can always, and you will rather always end up with difficult situations, which will make it difficult for you to get paying customers. Now, how does it translate or how does it get connected to your cash flow? What happens is your time from, let's say, the start of your venture till you get paying customer, that time gets extended. When the time gets extended, your own burn rate, you have no choice. Your burn rate is something which happens every month. So your burn rate will actually burn into your own resources. And that is where you cannot sustain yourself with enough cash. So if you don't have deep pockets, you will have to run around, scamper, and under desperation, look out for funding. So if you have thought it out well, you will not need funding at all. You will be able to generate cash right from day one because you created a solution where the customer is there and is ready to pay for it. So the other related question is, why should the customer buy a product? Now understand the word buy. There are enough customers who say, I want your product, but are they willing to pay for it? If they're not willing to pay for it, they are not really a customer because your business needs cash. Your venture needs the cash flow to survive. Free, everybody wants it. How many are willing to pay for it? You have to really sit back and analyze. Now, why should a customer pay for it? The customer will pay for it only if the problem that you are seeking to solve is painful enough for the customer. So if you don't have a product or a solution which addresses a problem of a customer, not only a problem, but a problem which is painful enough, you will not get a paying customer. So same discussion, if I were to reword it, I will say the product that you are coming out with, is it a must-have product or is it a nice-to-have product? So must-have product is something that I cannot live without. I just want it because it will help me a lot, it will solve my problem. And therefore, I will go out and seek suppliers or manufacturers who are able to supply it to me. Whereas a nice-to-have product is okay, I will take it if I like it, I will take it if it creates some value for me, if it enhances my brand image and so on and so forth. So in today's times, we all know that things like a mask and a sanitizer are a must-have product. Not because I want it, but because I'm compelled to have it. So the question is this demand going to last for long? The minute, we have already seen that, the minute the lockdown is relaxed, people move around and a lot of them move around without a mask or without, they forget the habits of cleaning their hands and sanitization. So the sanitizers and masks that are available in the market today, the opportunity is short-lived if we are looking at the way the current target customer is behaving. So if you have a must-have product, your cost of marketing goes down significantly. Your cash flows start right from day one. If it is a nice-to-have product, you have to position it, you have to create awareness, you have to do a lot of promotions, marketing, branding, and you have to reach out to the customer, find customers, convince them to buy, and then you will have purchasing, which will result in cash flow. So understand, where do you come from, what is your background, what is your resource base, and based on that, should you have a must-have product or a nice-to-have product. In addition to that, if you have a story, your personal story to associate it with that situation or the product, it helps a lot. If you don't have a story, why should I buy from you? I'm sure there are other similar Me Too's available in the market. So I might as well go and buy from somebody else. So if you have a story, or if you can create a story, or if you can visualize a story and connect with it, and then you introduce your product in the market, it helps a lot. Now, all this, of course, cannot be done by anybody and everybody. You as an entrepreneur must have credibility, and you must operate and perform in the market to earn customer trust. If you come out with a product, even though, let's say, you are from the best of institutions, you have the best of work experience, you have worked with multinational companies, you have achieved great things in your personal life, and then you hit the market and your customer service is poor, customer is not going to trust you only because of your track record in terms of your personal experience. They are saying, you may be whosoever you are, but what have you done for me to place a trust on you? So your own credibility and your ability to earn customer trust become very important when we are talking about getting paying customers. Okay, so you've done this. End of it, what we do is we create a value proposition, and that value proposition statement helps us crystallize our ideas. It gives us a focus. We are able to create value for the customer. We are able to differentiate, because of which we'll be able to target customers who are willing to pay. Now, the bigger question now happens is, I hit the market, how do I operate? How do I manage? So my resource requirements, marketing, demand generation, delivery of the product to the customer on time. Nobody wants to wait in today's instantaneous technology-led scenarios. So if I'm not able to deliver, nobody's going to wait for you. Somebody else will come over and take over your potential market. And once the demand starts growing, am I able to keep pace with the requirement of the market? So if I'm not able to scale up fast, or if I'm not planned my scale up, or if the entry barriers are very low, somebody else will come and eat up the market that I went and created. So we often say that the first mover gets an advantage, but if you look around and really wonder, really analyze, where are the first movers? In most cases, the first movers have actually disappeared from the market. You take the telecom industry, you take the radio taxi industry, you take the payment wallet industry. The first movers are nowhere there in the picture, but somebody else who was entrepreneurial enough, or who was there at maybe the right time, who was there to capitalize on a situation or an opportunity, went ahead and captured the market for themselves. So according to me personally, if we go by my past experience, first mover advantage, according to me, is a myth. You have to be very careful when you say that I'm the only person in the market, I'm the first guy in the market. So when you want to convert your ideas into action, again, there are some techniques which can be learned, which can be applied. It's known as effectuation principles. Effectuation has 5 principles. We don't have time to go through each of these 5 in detail, but what it essentially means is who you are, what do you know, who do you know, what can you do, what are you willing to lose, what is your bottom line in terms of loss, are you willing to form partnerships, are you willing to cooperate with others, and if difficulties come at you, can you convert those difficulties or obstacles into opportunities? And more importantly, you as an entrepreneur have to drive the journey, you as an entrepreneur have to keep moving towards achieving what you want to achieve. So these are the 5 principles in a very, very short nutshell. We can discuss them in detail later if time permits, or maybe we can, have a separate session on this. Now, let me give you a live example. We all have used masks, right? Now, this mask is known as a respirator, or commonly known as an N95 mask. So those who have used an N95 mask, if you have spoken to them or interacted with them, or you yourself have used them, these are the broad difficulties that people face while using an N95 mask. And what has happened is this particular organization, Sarvagya Innovations has done this exercise, and they did this homework. They did a good survey of how customers feel when they use this respirator or N95 mask. And based on these difficulties, they redesigned the product to create what is known as a COVID helmet. Now, this COVID helmet has addressed all the problems that were faced by the customers or the users of the mask, and they quickly, using simple available means and without going into any hi-fi or high-cost investment, were able to improvise significantly because they use the principles of ideation into their process. So this design that they've come out with has already been patented. So the product and the design has already been patented by Dr. Ashish Karn, and the partner with Ashish in Sarvagya Innovations happens to be my ex-student. And the minute I saw this product, I called him up and I said, "This looks fantastic. Can we do something about it?" And he agreed to cooperate. In a short period of less than 15 days, there's a huge demand, 50,000 pieces per day for export to a developed country. Because in India, this may not have a market for long. People may use it only when they are compelled to. But in a developed market, the people behave differently, their norms are different, the attitude of the customers is different. They are much more health conscious, and they are much more conscious about what they do, or because of them, what happens to others. So there's a huge demand for these kind of a product in developed countries, and that is where they've got a very, very concrete inquiry, and we are working together to convert this into reality. Right now, they are producing by outsourcing the product. They don't have their own manufacturing facility. So this company who is willing to take it up, they have agreed to, or they have in principle said that we will do all the investment, we will help you with product development. You just help us convert this into production. So the entire technology for the commercial part, the customer is willing to invest in. So this is what happens when you come out with a solution using design thinking principles or ideation principles, or by understanding the need of the market and then being in a position to convert it to willingness to put in the effort and cooperate, enter into partnerships using the principles of effectuation and taking it forward to where the journey will take you. You can never imagine who will come out to you, who will reach out to you, and who will want to take your product into a completely different horizon. So if you're open-minded, things will happen. Quick question again. Third and the last poll.
Bharat, while they answer the poll, take the poll quickly. We are at 5:40. Maybe if you could take another
Yes,
5 minutes to wrap up, because we have quite a few questions coming up. Others, I know many of you are raising your hand. If you could share your questions in Q&A, we'll get to those questions, and let's make this a conversation as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Darshan. I'm keeping an eye on the clock also. So I'm already speeding up. Okay, so I guess most of you would have answered the poll by now. There you go. Yes, a lot of you, 56%, feel that you can do a similar innovative exercise. And some of you say you either need help or you need to learn. Interesting part is a lot of people say, very few, 2% say the exercise is meaningless. Now, let's be a little honest here. If I had taken this poll before sharing the experience, I'm sure the answers would have been quite different. But I'm happy that whatever I've shared with you has made you feel that yes, you can do it, and more importantly, I'm happy that you feel that you are in a position to do this similar exercise, innovative exercise yourself without help. So this is the beauty of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship does not necessarily is not necessarily in the domain of only those who are well endowed. Any student, any person who just wants to go ahead and solve a real problem can do it if they are having that entrepreneurial mindset. Great. So let's move ahead. How do you take off? So to become an entrepreneur, we've covered most of it. You look ahead, you think of a problem, you follow your passion, you talk to people about it, you talk or share your story. A lot of decisions you have to take. You make a prototype, do the legwork. A whole lot of things. The sequence can change from situation to situation. There's no well-defined path, and there's definitely no two companies will be following the same path. But on the whole, they'll follow all these in some form or the other. But if you really notice at the bottom left, this is the interesting thing that I would like to share with you. When I interact with people, they miss out on this. And a lot of people straight away say, I got a fantastic idea, I want funding. Hold on. Nobody is going to fund your idea. People want you to convert your idea into something which is required and something for which the customer is willing to pay. And it's only when you reach that level that people will look at funding you. So what it means is you first go ahead, convert your idea into a product, you test that product, you make a prototype, you do your little exercise. There are techniques again for that. Like for example, we have this concept of lean startup. Using those techniques, you find out whether your product really is going to be successful or not in the market. Find a co-founder, find advisors to guide you, find mentors to guide you. Then you look for funding or capital. So a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of startups, they start looking for funding right from day one, even before they have crystallized the idea. Now that's not correct. That's dangerous. So it's not surprising that a lot of ideas don't get funded. It's not that there's not enough funds available. Funds are plenty. The people who have the funds, they say we have enough funds, but we don't have good projects. So understand the scenario and do your process suitably. Now, what happens with a lot of startups? A lot of startups operate very, very well in their comfort zone. Comfort zone is your close circle of friends and family. So in your friends and family, in your own personal network, people feel that whatever they have done is fantastic, and they feel they have created a success. But the real market or the real challenge is to go beyond their comfort zone. Now, if you don't have this personal trait or the personal ability to go beyond your comfort zone, you will find it difficult to really scale up your venture. So if you're wanting to become an entrepreneur, learn how to transit from your comfort zone into the fear zone, into the learning zone, and only then will you be able to enter the growth zone. So just to give you a simple analogy, all those who say that I'm going to make my product on the net, on an app, using computer resources and software, they are in a way operating in their comfort zone. They need to get out of their comfort zone. They need to get out of their computer. They need to go into the real world, talk to real people, understand what they require, talk to unknown people, find out what they want, learn a lot. As you learn a lot, be ready to improvise and modify your product, and that's how you will grow. So get out of your comfort zone and go into action. It is the action which will help you overcome your fear. Now, why do ventures fail? 42% fail because there was no market need. I thought this is what the customers want. I created the product. I launched it in the market. Market says, hey, hold on, I don't want your product at all. I don't like your product. Who told you I wanted? 42% fail because of this reason. 29% fail because they ran out of cash. Now, why do you run out of cash? Because you've not planned it enough. If you've done your homework well, if you've done your planning well, you can also plan out your cash flow requirement. And when you see the huge cash flow requirement, you can go back to the drawing board, strategize, and reformulate your business model to see how you don't really end up requiring that much cash, or how you can restructure the operation of the thought process to ensure that you are able to get paying customers in a much shorter time frame. You may not have the right team. You may not do proper pricing. You may not have a proper product, poor marketing, so on and so forth. So if you look at it in totality, most of these are related to you as an individual. That's the bottom line. If you take it seriously, if you take it in a positive way, it is you as an entrepreneur. If you are able to graduate from that mindset, which is inward looking, to a solution seeking mindset, and if you are willing to look at the customer requirements more than your own requirements, a lot of these failures can be avoided. So invariably, what does an entrepreneur think? Entrepreneur says, oh, I've done it, best of products, nobody's going to stop me, there's no competition, and I'm going to be laughing all the way to the bank. And the minute they get out of their what we call as the comfort zone, or even their own house, to go ahead and look out for customers, they get hit by reality. And as you see the reality is quite different from what we think. But nothing is lost. There are ways and means to overcome all this. There are ways and means by which things can be much better. Of course, it will never be like the scenario on top. Scenario on top is absolutely idealistic. So if you feel that that is what is going to happen, wake up, come and meet us one-to-one, and we'll put something into you. So wake up every morning, have a positive thought, and with a positive thought only, entrepreneurs are built and solutions are created. So that's all from me. From my side, I'll be more than happy to take Q&As. Over to you, Darshan.
Fantastic. Really loved the whole content that you put together for us. Lots of things that I could relate to. And looks like we've got quite a few questions as well. Given that we've got only about 10 or 12 minutes, we can continue maybe 5-10 minutes beyond 6 p.m. if people are still around. But very quickly, here's a question from Dheeraj. Is creative mindset an important element for innovation and entrepreneurship?
Creative mindset, the way the question has been asked, I'm presuming that the person who has asked the question is presuming that I need to have a creative mindset if I want to become an entrepreneur. So the answer to that is, you may not have a creative mindset. A creative mindset can be cultivated. You can learn to become creative. And unless you are creative, you will not be in a position to find better solutions. So creativity is not to be confused with the creativity from the artistic sense. Here, when we are talking about creativity, creativity means how can I make my solution which is different from what is being offered or available in the market? How can I come out with a solution which is thinking out of the box?
So faster, better, cheaper, right?
Maybe, yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Yeah,
cheaper.
So when I have these catchphrases, faster, better, cheaper, now that gives me a direction, that gives me a focus, that gives me the boundary limits. And when I start and focus on those boundary limits, my mind works differently. And when my mind works differently, it becomes creative. So creativity can be learned. In short, it can be learned. You should be open to learning it.
Vedita says this is very informative and a useful talk, must say. So they're just sending some compliments.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
This is Bhavya, right? Bhavya is very specifically working on an insurance business. I know we don't want to get too specific on a particular business because each business has different challenges. But you need a capital base of 1 crore In this case, how can you go about without initial funding? I want to take this question because you probably know this very well, but maybe you could have a stab at it and I can share some of my thoughts.
Okay, so first of all, this takes me back to my introductory slide, which says, are you doing a business or are you doing something entrepreneurial? So the minute you say that I want to do an insurance business, and for that the minimum requirement is 1 crore, are you doing an entrepreneurial venture or are you doing a normal business? So the answer to this is obviously you're doing a normal business. And therefore, those set of questions that we had listed earlier, can I do it, is the real concern. Now, having said that, yes, 1 crore is something that some people might say, I don't have it, I want to raise it. The question is not that people don't have 1 crore to give you. The question is, why should I give it to you? What is your credibility? How do I trust you? Can you actually make a success of this venture if I give you 1 crore? So what is your detailed thought on that? What is your ability to convert that thought into action? What is that action which will convert to revenue? What is that revenue which will convert to profitability? If that is not happening, I am not willing to give you that 1 crore. So it's not that the 1 crore is not available. 1 crore is available. Question is, have you demonstrated that you as an individual, as an entrepreneur, can convert it to something profitable? So you have to go into action. You have to show your track record. You have to show your performance. And like I said, towards the end, when people come out with an idea, they straight away want to jump into it and they say, give me the money. This is my idea. Give me the money. It doesn't work that way. You have to go through the steps. You have to go through the grind. You have to, both in Hindi. I like this Hindi language so much. There are certain punchlines in Hindi just cannot be communicated in English. वो चप्पल घिसना पड़ता है. जब तक चप्पल नहीं घिसते हैं, तो you just can't become an entrepreneur. So
Excellent.
That's my take on Bhavya.
Excellent. I will not add any more because you covered it way better than I could. There's one question here, from Vinay Kumar. How do you remove the fear of losing? I think this is a very important one when it comes to entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial mindset. So maybe you could speak a little bit about this.
Fantastic question. Very, very real, very, very practical. Fear of losing. Now let's look at it from multiple angles. So first of all, again, we go back to the initial slide. Fear of losing is inward looking, and it is looking at myself and not looking at the customer, not looking at the problem at hand, not looking at a possible solution which is creating value for the customer. I'm more worried what will happen to me. I'm not looking at what can I offer to the customer. So fear of losing, first of all, is a business mindset, not an entrepreneurial mindset. Having said that, in between we did mention about the principles of effectuation. So the second principle of effectuation, which is affordable loss. How much are you ready to lose if you were to take up this venture? Now, loss is not necessarily limited only to money value. It is also related to the other resources that you may end up spending or using or losing. And it also refers to the time element, because time is also,
credibility, right? Because
absolutely,
if you're a well-established senior business leader and you have a very prominent failure, then credibility
absolutely,
the resources, so to say.
Correct. So that's the other part of it. The third part of it is, as an entrepreneur, one of the traits or one of the qualities that you have to create is failures are welcome. There's nothing wrong in failing. Now, failure and losing, if you equate the two together, there's a problem. So when we say affordable loss is saying that, okay, I will do my best. I've done the homework. I will do it from an entrepreneurial perspective. But in spite of that, suppose it does not happen. What is the bottom line? What is the cutoff line beyond which I will say that, okay, it's not working, I want to change. So I'm not saying I'm going to shut it down. I'm saying I'm going to change. Change means either change that venture or change to a completely different venture. Now it also links up to my other little example that I gave in between. That if you are not willing to follow the process, if you're not willing to learn and then do entrepreneurship, then welcome to the world of entrepreneurship, and the first 5 ventures are your net practice. So if your net practice, you're not willing to do the net practice, how do you expect to get selected into the team? or how do you expect to become better and better? How do you expect to perform and really make it big on the real life? Uh, Other than that, the other slide that I showed about entrepreneurial traits, you need to come out of a comfort zone, you need to come out into the fear zone, and you have to go beyond the fear zone into the learning zone. So fear of losing is more because people nowadays are not really looking out and interacting with people, or are you willing to form teams, are you willing to cooperate with others, are you willing to follow the principle which we discussed, the crazy quilt principle in effectuation, forming partnerships, forming teams, getting resources on board, and recreating your journey as different partners come along. And as you face difficulties, instead of getting bogged down by those difficulties and saying that these difficulties are ending up creating a loss for me, with this situation, what can I do so that I can convert these difficulties or loss-making situations into opportunities? So that is how I need to realign. So bottom line is the mindset, the entrepreneurial mindset. That's what you
Fantastic.
need to work on, and you don't really need to work on the fear of failure or the fear of losing money.
If I can just build on it,
Sure.
our 1 year postgraduate program in entrepreneurship talks or is designed in a way that addresses all of these things, right? We have a course on dedicated on effectuation, then for product development through lean startup, then how do you fundraise, when do you fundraise, how do you pitch, how do you get various stakeholders on board, right? So there are various frameworks, and which leads me to the next question. Before I go to the next question, there's a lot more compliments coming your way, Dr. Bharat. David Samuel says extremely useful and pertinent. I like your session, sir. It brilliantly captures the bird's eye view of the startup journey.
Thank you, David.
And then there's Shagun Mehta and Girish Adsule. They've asked a couple of questions, and here's one. There are various failure reasons that you said, right? But how do you really reduce this risk? Are there any tools to assess the risk?
Absolutely. There are plenty of tools available, and some of the tools we've already shared. It starts with the ideation process itself. Uh, if you have not done your ideation well, the risk factor starts from there itself. So we already shared a few tools and techniques of ideation. Then we had the entrepreneurial management process. In the management process, there's a planning part of it. In the planning part, typically what we do is we do a whole lot of detailing. And in that detailing, we strongly recommend that you make a detailed business plan. That business plan should be for a period of 3 to 5 years. Yes, a lot of people will say that 5 years is too long a horizon for me to visualize. But if you do that exercise, and in fact, making business plans is my specialty. So when we do that exercise, all the entrepreneurs that I've worked on so far over the years, invariably, after doing the business plan exercise, the thought process becomes so different. The picture becomes so clear. The understanding of the nuances of execution, scaling up, and growth becomes so much visible to them in number terms, in value terms. The solutions that they need to create to overcome and to synchronize all the resource requirements becomes very, very obvious. And when all that is done, you have a list of activities to be done listed out, and those in turn become your reference point for your risk factors. So if you're not able to do any of those, automatically you are creating a risk factor. So risk factors are important. There are plenty of tools available. We can work on it, but yes, you need to be willing to go into a lot of detail. And with that detail, you should have an open mind to appreciate. Invariably, you talk to an entrepreneur, and they say, "No, no, no, no problem. I'm going to be, comfortable. Getting a customer is not a problem." Now, that itself is the risk factor. If you're not open-minded, if you're not willing to listen to the customer, that itself is a risk factor. So yes, there are tools and techniques. We can always take it offline and
Yeah.
keep talking about it.
So one last point I'll make, Manit Loda has agrees with many of the points that you suggested between, entrepreneurship skills and business skills. He gave a couple of references. Unfortunately, Manit, we can't, bring you on right now. but I'll make it a point to share this across with the other participants. We are at 6 p.m. We're going to call it a close. Could you just move to the next slide, Professor Bharat? First of all, Bharat, thank you. A fantastic session. The compliments are still coming through. For all the participants, you'll receive a feedback form after this. Would really appreciate if you can give some feedback and also share what speakers would you like for us to invite on this webinar series. I can't promise that we'll be able to bring all of them, but we will try. I will try my level best to bring speakers that you suggest on this webinar series. Next Wednesday, we've got another fantastic person, Dr. Arvind Chinchure. He's a chief mentor for the one-year postgraduate program in entrepreneurship and innovation at Flame University. He's the founder and CEO of QLeap Academy. He's an innovation guru and expert, and he's going to talk about managing change, opportunities in the face of disruption. He's going to cover a little bit about Industry 4.0. So again, how can traditional businesses rewire themselves to be able to meet to the new technology savvy world that we are in today. And lastly, applications are open for the one-year postgraduate program in entrepreneurship. Feel free to make any recommendations to me, to Flame University, to Madhuri, Nikita from our team. We are very happy to talk to anyone who might be interested, either in the one-year program or the Flame Origins program, which is a startup accelerator program to help early stage startups achieve product market fit and scale up. So we are at 6:02. Wish you all a very safe weekend. Hope you're stocked up if you're in Pune. We have lockdown happening from Monday. So please, get your groceries and essentials in place. And again, Dr. Bharat, thank you very much for joining us. Really, really appreciate you taking this time to join us.
Thank you, Darshan, for the opportunity, and it's always a pleasure to work with you, to get associated with you and all your initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone.
Bye.